name is Mia. I am currently 42 years old and I live in Denmark. I wanted to start this channel to tell you about my life with the Klippel-Feil syndrome and about my life in general. I don't, I haven't seen many channels out there about living with a chronically degenerative illness like mine. Mostly you see children and their parents tell you about how they see their children progress and how they assume they feel. You don't see lots of adults like myself who actually breathe and feel what it's like to be chronically ill. Um, yeah, and I know nobody wants to see many videos about, oh, it's so bad to be me and I'm in so much pain, and yes, I am in a lot of pain all the time. Yeah, I am. But I'm not going to let that stop me from living a full life. So you will see my hobbies as well in here. You will see me show off stuff that I made from, diamond painting over here and knitting that I'm doing, and I'm going to show you around the house. I'm going to show the kitties. We have 5 cats. Yeah, we weren't supposed to have 5, but yeah, life happens and suddenly we had 5. Yeah, so as I said, my name is Mia. We live in Denmark. Me, my husband, and our 5 cats. We live in a small village outside of the town called Fredericia. It's in Jutland. Yeah. Right now it looks like it's going to be rain later. I don't know how the weather is at your end of the world, but even though it's supposed to be start summer and spring, sometimes it looks like it's later in the year, It's autumn or something. We have a lot of rain and a lot of thunder, but that's Danish weather for you. I don't know if you've ever been in Denmark, but you never know. Like in the winter we have warm weather and all the flowers start to bloom, and then in February, March and April we have snow. It's not normal anymore. It's not like when we were kids, and yeah. So, yeah, I don't know if anybody really wants to see these kind of videos, Really, it may be more like a diary for myself in the future to see what was my life in 2022 after 2 years of COVID-19. Like for the past 2 years, we had this virus running amok around the world, and for the first year and a half I was basically at home because nobody knew what it would be like for me if I got it. So I was at home and it was boring. I got stir crazy of seeing the same walls all the time. We moved in these 2 years, so that was something to do, but yeah. I actually ended up getting COVID this March or April, I don't know. And I didn't even know it was that, so that's good. That it had to wait so long, because for me it was pretty much a throat in my throat, like I had this frog in my throat. And I had to go to the doctors to get blood drawn. They were like, oh, we hear you have this frog in your throat. Have you been tested? I was like, nope. And I'm like, it's spring, it happens. I've been outside without my jacket on, Yeah, well, we'd like you to get tested before I come in. I go, okay, I can get tested, Went down, and the next day, positives, like, oh, oops. So, yeah. But the funny thing is, my husband never got it. Like, we live together, we sleep together, we kiss each other, we hug each other, we do stuff that married people do, So, but he never got it. I find that strange, maybe because it was the Delta variant, and it's very mild. That was my side of it. But the funny thing is, up until when I got my positive back, I didn't feel bad at all. It was like, yeah, a frog in my throat. And then I got the positive, and in that instant, and which is very like my body to do this, somebody tells me, "Oh, you're sick," and my body says, "Oh yeah, you're sick," and it's like, and I got headaches, and I had typical symptoms. I was freezing, and I was hot, and I was freezing again, and yeah, all that. It was so funny. I was looking at myself in the mirror. I was like, really? Up until 5 hours ago, you were fine, and now this? But I've tried it before, but not with the COVID, but with other illnesses, until I actually tell myself, oh, you're sick. It's okay to be sick. My body goes, oh, I'm sick. Okay, crash. Yeah. So, like I told you, we live in Denmark, so my native language is Danish. But I'm going to do this in English, so sorry if there's mistakes or I have to look for the words or something. English is my second language. I also speak German, and then I understand a little Norwegian and Swedish, but mostly in writing. I also understand a bit of Dutch, but also in writing. Um, yeah. I wish I could speak Spanish or French or Italian or something like that, but I don't. I tried learning Turkish a few years ago, and I still remember some of it, but I don't think a lot of Turkish people is gonna come in here and watch me try to say good morning and all of stuff in Turkish. No. Yeah. I don't know what else I could say about myself. Maybe I could tell you about how I got this diagnosis. We, when you have Klippel-Feil syndrome, it's something that you're born with. It is something of a malfunction in the womb. It happens when our mom's about 4 to 8 weeks pregnant, that early. You can't do anything about it. And there's some say it's like there's a clog in some blood vessels, and it could make all sorts of havocs, depending how long there's this clog. But for all of us, there's one thing in common. We all have vertebrae in our necks that have grown together, fused together. And for some people, it's just two vertebrae that are fused. And for others, it's a lot more. Like me, I have like C4 to C7 that are fused, and then T2, T3 that are fused together. Most people, like I think 50, 60%, maybe even more, never know that they have this condition, this syndrome, because they have like two fused vertebrae and they don't have any pain, or they don't feel any, that you can't move your neck. If you look at me, it's like I have this very, very short neck, and I can't move my head very much. It's like very limited in range. Some people, they look normal, they have a very long neck, and then they can move just freely, like you probably, or your family. Then there are some who has two fused vertebrae, and they have either pain or limited movement. So they will go to the doctor, and something's wrong with me. And then there's very, very few of us. Like 5% or something, who has two or more fused vertebrae, They have lack of movement and they have pain. Yay. Like used to say, I have to do it properly. Why only do it halfway? Yeah, I try to make jokes out of it, otherwise I would have to sit in the corner and cry all the time, and I don't do that. I don't like doing that. Um, so that's the one thing we all have in common. We have a very low hairline too. Um, yeah, that's the. I think that's the common thing for everybody. Um, then there is these things that some people have. Some people have heart issues. They have kidney issues, like these horseshoe-shaped kidneys. Um, you could have muscle issues, tissue issues. Like if you look at my hands, you can see that my left is missing this muscle. Um, that was from birth. That is happened when this clot happened. I'm missing muscle all of my left arm. I'm gonna do centimeters because that's what we use in Denmark. But around my wrist here, it's 1 centimeter smaller than my right arm. Around my elbow, it's 2 centimeters. And then up here about my biceps, it's 1 centimeter again. Yeah, that's crazy. But I don't know how it's supposed to be any different. So if you look at statistics, it's saying that around 1 in every 42, 45,000 children, you will have one child being born with KFS, Klippel-Feil syndrome. I would mostly call it KFS in these videos. So that would say in Denmark that's around one child a year. And then remember, most of them will never know they have this disease. Usually for the most of us, it will get diagnosed very quickly because they do all these tests today from babies, and parents are very, very observant. My child's neck looked different. There are motion range difficulties. So most people get the diagnosis early today. I wasn't that lucky. Why? I think bad luck mostly, and I had a doctor that wasn't very observant, and just a lot of stuff did, and so I ended up having my diagnosis very, very late, and I had to fight to get it too. I started having pain when I was a child. I think 9 years old. And I had neck pains, and I noticed that my left side was weak. I can't grab because there's this muscle here is missing, so I can't bend my thumb. Like normal, you can bend your thumb and you can grab. You have a pen and you can grab it and you can write. I can't do that with my left arm. I couldn't write. I can't do stuff with my left. Yeah. I can grab a tissue. I can, do stuff like that. But I can't really. I have no fine motor skills in my left arm, my left hand. And I noticed that, and I've tried talking to my doctor and say something is wrong here. And it's like, no, it's fine. You just need to practice. And it's like, you say that to an 8-year-old. It's like, okay, I have to practice. Yeah, and the pain was like, yeah, maybe you slept wrong. How do I know? I'm a child. I was teased a lot in school for, not being able to move my head and being different. Kids are cruel. I was different. Yeah. Then when I turned around 20, it got bad, really bad. I had a lot of pain, and it was bad. And I went to the doctor again, and I was like, you have to do something. You have to do something. And he did did some x-rays. I mean, yeah, I can see that you have these vertebrae that don't look right, but that's it. And I don't know, maybe that's just bad luck in your case. It's like, so what can we do about it? Nothing. So is it something that we have to look into? No. Okay, what do I know? He said, yeah, you maybe have arthritis too in your neck and your nose, in your body. That's in your family. It's like, sure, it isn't my family. Um, and then when I was 24, no, 25, I got sick. Really, I left work. I was working in homes for old people, so they can get help, and I was working in a facility, and then I was working night shift because that was easiest on my back and my neck. And then one morning I just went home and I never got back because I couldn't do anything when I woke up. It was like I couldn't do anything. It was bad because me and my then boyfriend, now husband, were about to move in together, and I had to pack, and I couldn't. I couldn't do anything. Yeah, that was a lot, and I couldn't do anything. And thankfully, about a year before, I had been written up to go to this place where you get a lot of training and learn, how should I train and exercise my body if you have arthritis and stuff like that. And it's like God said, they called me and said, hey, we have a free spot in 2 weeks. Do you want it? I was like, okay, I just moved and yeah, let's do this. And it was a 3-week stay, so I did that, and it was amazing. They taught me a lot, and I had, every day I was in a hot swimming pool doing practices, and it was a wonderful start to the day, and I had training sessions, and yeah, it was wonderful. So then I got home from that, and I had to deal with our system. In Denmark we have a security net, so if something happens to you, you could get money from your state, and to get that you have to cooperate with your city and their system. So I did that, and we looked into it, and I have a very nice social worker, and she really wanted to help me, and she granted me an opportunity to get a new education as a social worker, actually. I wanted to be a social worker because I wanted to do the same as she did. And I had to do high school because I never did high school. I could do it in 1 year to get the classes that I needed, and then I could move on to study college to be a social worker. And I did that, and in that time my body slowly decreased, and I didn't understand because I did everything I could to protect it and to be good to myself, but I had to get more medication. I had to get more pain medication. And no matter what I did, it didn't help. It helped for about 6 months, maybe 9 months, and then I had to try something else. And my doctor was like, oh, you're going to end up addicted to all these, and I'm giving you such strong medication, and I don't think you're telling me the truth. And it was horrible. That your own doctor looks at you and says, I don't believe you. And on the same side, I was like, but I feel horrible. I'm in so much pain. I have days where I can't even get out of bed. That horrible. Yeah. And then time flies, and I loving the school. I love going to college. I loved working as a social worker, I had to go, sometimes you had to go out and to be working as a social worker to learn how to do it and not just go to school. So I loved that. And even in one of my summer holidays, I worked at a local, not in my town, but the town over, commune system. In the city system, I worked there for a summer, and they told me, in a year when you're done, we're gonna have you. You have to come back. We want you here. And I was like, yeah, great. That's gonna be wonderful. And like, I can't wait to get back. And then I went back to school, and I had to write my bachelor's project, and it was it was not fun. We had a lot of bad luck writing it, but we managed to get it done, and then about a week before we had to turn it in, I just crashed. I knew something was wrong, really wrong. I haven't slept for a year. I was having all these thoughts about how life would be so much easier if I weren't there. My husband, we got married in 2007. I mean, like, my husband would have an easier life if I wasn't there. These kinds of thoughts. And I was a burden for everybody because clearly something's wrong with me, but nobody believes me, so maybe it was going to be a lot easier if I weren't there. I'm a very logical person, so I knew that wasn't right. These thoughts, not right. So just one evening when we were in the couch watching TV, I just broke down and I cried. Really, I cried hard, and I tried to tell David, my husband, all these thoughts in my head, and he was totally, taken aback, like, what's happening here? Where does all this come from? Why haven't I heard about this before? It's like, and I just, because I've kept it all in, because that's what I do. And I had to write to my social worker and say, this isn't working. I had to contact the school and say, I can't, and, I felt so bad because I was so close to being done with school, but I couldn't do anything at that time. I didn't even know how to get up in the morning and to take on clothes. Give me a pair of socks, and I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? I couldn't do anything. So I was on sick leave again. Yeah. Eventually, it got worse, and when you're married in Denmark, eventually you have to live off of your spouse's money. If he makes more than 20,000 kroners a month, he has to support you. But the big issue is, for a short time of period, it's okay. But in my case, and in many other people's cases, I was forgotten. I was put at the back of the list all the time. So they kind of forgot me, even though I called them like 7 times a week. I didn't, but I called them a lot and said, hey, what is going on? I need to, something has to happen. And nothing happened. But then in 2012, I crashed in January 2010. And I've been home since January 2010 by now. But then in 2012, a friend of mine came up to me, not a friend of mine, but some family to that friend came up to me, it was a doctor, and said, hey, have you ever considered Turner syndrome? It's like, the what syndrome? You know, I've never heard of it. It's like, yeah, I've known it for quite some times, and when I was in school to be a doctor, we read these syndromes, and they're like, it looks like you're actually a poster girl for this syndrome. I was like, never heard of it, but hey, I will look into it. This was in April 2012. So when we were home a few days later, I took out my laptop and I started investigating. I read everything about Turner syndrome. And I even found this medical professor who does nothing but working with these girls. And I wrote him and it's like, hey, this is my life, this is what I look like, this is, could I be a Turner girl? And I wrote him a Sunday night around 10 o'clock, and I was like, I wrote, take your time, it's okay, I'm not busy, but eventually when you have some time, would you get back to me and tell me if this is something I could have, And 30 minutes later, I was like shocked. It was 11 p.m. Sunday evening, It's like, what? He wrote me back. It's like, yeah, actually, I saw the photos that you included, and everything you wrote about yourself. I definitely think that you could be a Turner girl. So here's what you have to do. So I got an appointment with my own doctor. I've changed doctor since, from the doctor who didn't believe who believed I was just faking everything. So I got a new doctor, but in the same building of doctors. And so I took this email and I went to my doctor and this medical professor told me to go to you and say I need to see a genetics doctor. And she was like, no, I'm not sure that is what, maybe we should just do some more x-rays and and it's like, hey, look at this email, look at his name, look in your system and tell me that if you don't believe him, who will you believe when I say something's up? And she was like, yeah, okay, I can try, but they're probably gonna say, no, nothing's wrong with you, just like everybody else. And it's like nobody's told me nothing's wrong with me. That's your guys telling me that nothing's wrong. And she was very hesitant to give me this, to write to them and say, hey, would you look at this girl, And I remember saying to her, if you're not doing this, I'm gonna have you to sign this piece of paper that tells you that you're taking responsibility from now on. It's your responsibility. If I end up in a wheelchair or, becoming so ill that I really can't do anything, then that's on you. And of course she refused to sign that piece of paper. So she wrote the genetics department in a town next over called Vejle. And they gave me a time in like 3 weeks or something like that. Yeah. And then I went there and I brought my sister because they advised to bring someone who have known you a very long time. And I was like, that's my sister, I couldn't bring my parents or anything because we don't have the best of relationship. So I brought my sister, and it's so funny because they had like 1,000 questions and I had to answer all of them, and they're like, ask my sister, do you remember this from when you were growing up? And I had blood drawings, I hate needles, I'm like terrified of needles. There's like, it's been years since anybody were able to take a blood test from me, but they succeeded because of my sister showed me photos, of the guys from Klippel-Feil who I love very much. So she got my minds off of the blood drawing. And we went back to the doctor and they're like, we have to do these tests and you will hear from me in about 2 to 3 weeks. Then you'll come here. I was like, okay, let's do it. Um, and she was certain, like 100% sure I had Turner syndrome with that doctor. So I was certain as well because if the doctor tells you, I believe you have Turner syndrome. Okay, I believe you. So I came back in 3 weeks later, maybe a month later, and I remember the doctor looking at me profoundly puzzled. She was like, "You don't have Turner syndrome." I was like, "What?" But you said. She said, "Yeah, I said," and I'm so confused because like, everything matched up, but you don't have Turner syndrome. It's like, well, then what? And then she looked at me. She's like, "I would like your permission to look into this, to do like 1,000 million tests, to test your genes, your DNA, your everything. We're gonna send you to all the hospitals in southern Denmark, to test everything." I was like, okay, you have my permission. And she did that. I was tested from head to toe, and photos were taken, and she even texted, emailed with some of the big hospitals in Denmark, the Rigshospitalet in Copenhagen, and they have these departments for rare diseases, and she wrote with them, and they looked at the DNA, and they all the symptoms that I have, and yeah, 6 months later in December 2012, she called me and said, "Hey, can you come in on Friday?" I was like, "Sure, I can do that." She's like, "Yeah, I think we found your diagnosis." And I was like, "Oh, really? Yay! Finally. So I came in, I think it was the 7th of December 2012. And she had like a lot of papers in front of her, and she had printed a stack like this, gave it to me, and said, "Don't look yet." I was like, "Okay, I am." So she said, "Yeah, all the tests we did and everything, and I've talked to people. I even talked to people in Germany by now. It's like, and we found your diagnosis. You have Klippel-Feil syndrome." And I was like, "Klippel what syndrome?" It's like, "What? I've never heard of that one." It's like, "Yeah, you have to get used to that because neither have most doctors." It's like, "Oh, great. Wow, I'm gonna have a disease that nobody knows. How's that gonna work out for me? You know, Already I'm having problems with people believing that I'm faking everything." Um, and she's like, "I'm gonna write your doctor, your physician, and I'm gonna tell her, you have this, and I'm gonna write her all the stuff that you need to be tested for." I was like, "What stuff?" Like, we have to test your heart, your kidneys, a lot of stuff has to be checked. As my endocrine system, everything. So in January, I had I had this Holter machine I had to carry for 14 days. It ruined my skin because apparently I'm allergic to some of the stuff that you have in plastic. So like plaster and stuff. So I had to change these bandages every day, and it just ripped my skin off. Even though I had the sensitive ones, it ripped my skin off. So after the 14 days that I had to carry this, my skin was raw. I had scars on my chest for nearly 2 years after because, yeah. But anyway, I had my heart tested and everything was fine. And when they did the sonograms and everything on my heart, I had the nicest doctor. This middle-aged man who came in, and he gave me a screen so I could look and I could hear my lungs and the heartbeat and everything. And I had to turn my back on him, and he's just like, "Can you scoot over a little? I'm gonna sit, behind you." And you're like, "Don't worry, I'm an old man. And you're a young woman. I don't look at you like that." It's like I was laughing, because he was kind. And so he was like, "Can you hear this?" And then he turned up the sound, and I could hear the blood flowed in my veins, like, it was just amazing to hear your own heart and your lungs working. And he explained everything. Now I'm looking at this in your heart, and you see that on the sonogram, and it was amazing to be able to see your heart like that. So my heart was fine. I'm having EKGs taken every year to be sure that it's still fine, because sometimes people with KFS can get sick out of nothing. So I'm having these tests done every year. Then after the heart tests, I had my kidneys tested. Yeah, that was something as well. I had to drink like a liter of water, and then they had to put in some contrasting fluids. And then I came in and I had another sonogram, and luckily I had another screen. I could see how this fluids and the contrasting fluids moved through my body. I was like, and towards the end, the doctor looked at me. "Oh, by the way, you're gonna have to go to the bathroom soon." I was like, "No shit, Sherlock. I can see that, and I can feel it." I was like, "Are we done yet? Because I have to go to the bathroom." It's like, yeah. See, it's all there in the kidneys now, and everything is fine. "Okay, are we done?" I was like, "Yeah. Just 1 minute." And he did that. And I find and the way your body works is fascinating. So having a diagnosis has been very helpful, but in the end, I got it too late. I had done all the wrong things growing up. I had a education that is very bad for my type of body. So which is why I say I have been home since 2010. Yeah, but even though I got my diagnosis in December of 2012, it didn't do anything in perspective to the social workers and how the system works in Denmark. Um, I called them, like, I had a month where I called them every single day. And nothing happened. Sometimes I even didn't have a social worker. It was like, how can I not have a social worker? Well, the last one stopped, and you haven't found someone new for you yet. And it's like, how is that? Like, I cannot have a social worker. They're like, yeah, but well, we're working on it, and maybe next month, and blah 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 blah. Eventually, I had enough. I just had it. So I wrote to some of the politicians that I know, and I gave her my story and told her, by now it's been nearly 4 years in the system. Nothing has happened. They haven't even started to check, how much can I do and how little can I do, and how it's supposed to be. And then this politician, uh, she went down to the job center, as it's called in Denmark, where we are testing how much we can work, and they're supposed to help us get jobs again if it's possible. So she went down there and she's like, "Hey, what's going on here?" "Oh, that's a mistake. I don't know how that happened." And I got this letter, where they were washing their hands, like, "This is a mistake, and I don't know how this happened at all," and all of a sudden, everything happened in no time. Um, I got a new social worker, and I had to go to a nursing testing facility to see how much I could work, how much can you work even. And I had a lot of paperwork to do, before that. And this facility, it was nice and I loved it. I was there in the beginning 2 times a week for about 2 hours. And the horrible thing is, as much as I loved being there, I mean, I loved it. I was done when I was home. I I slept basically all the time from when I came home until I had to leave again. Um, and I had no life. It was 6 months. I had to be there. Um, and I tried, to push myself because, I have to show them that I can do that, I can get more hours or, yeah. I pushed myself way too hard. At one day I had to go up and turn in my diary because I wrote a diary every day, of how much pain I was in when I woke up and when I was at the facility and then when I came home and how much I could do every day. And I was up there just to give them that little diary. And I just came in and I saw my social worker and I broke down. I cried for an hour, trying to tell her that I couldn't do this anymore. I was just done, I had nothing left in me, I was just broken. So she looked at me like, no more going there 2 times a week. You're just there 1 time a week, and you're there for like 2 hours if you can, but you have to remember to say stop. You still have, I think, 2 months left out there, and you have to take care of yourself. You have to go home if it's necessary, but still push yourself as much as you can, and I did that. And it ended up like I was there once a week for an hour and a half maybe. And then I went home and I slept until the next week when I have to go out there. It's like I had no life. Really, I had no life at all. And even though at that time I had been at a pain facility, a place, a hospital where they work with pain patients. They give you the medication and try to find a medication that really helps you. So for once in my life, my pain was managed. So I had all the help that they could give me at that time. But even then, I was just done. So I worked like an hour and a half a week, and then I slept like for the rest of the time. So I was done doing this practice work, as they call it. And I went back to the social worker, and she had to do like a gazillion pages of work, all this paperwork. And I went to this committee that had to look it all over, and I was like scared what they're gonna do. Are they gonna say, no, you have to test you some more, and you have to do that for 3 years? And I was terrified, because they had my life in their hands, So, what will happen to me? And I was in there with my social worker, and my doctor was there at that time, who had finally decided, I'm on your side, I'm gonna have to help you, and yeah. And I was still stressed as, yeah, At that time, my stress was chronic, If somebody told me, hey, in an hour we have to be here, it's like, no. We can do that in 2 weeks, It's like, I was so stressed. I couldn't, yeah. I I had to have everything on a schedule, otherwise my life broke down, so I went to this panel and they asked me a bunch of questions, and it ended up with them giving me, I think in America you would call it, what's the word in America? In Danish, the right translation would be early retirement. Disability. In America, it's called disability. But here it's like early retirement, where every month they give me this allowance, as I call it. I get money every month, so I can be at home and take care of myself. And yeah, since then, that was in May of 2015. So at that time, I've been home on no money for 5 years. I had lived off of my husband's money for more than 5 years, and it had been tough on the both of us, but mostly on me, because I felt like I had to ask. I had to ask for permission to buy anything because it wasn't my money. So finally, I would have my own money again. And I was like, finally, I can start to live again. I'm not gonna have to worry about what's gonna happen next, and I can find some sort of peace in my life, and not feel like I'm hunted, and not believe that I'm actually so sick. Klippel-Feil syndrome is a degenerative disease. I'm never gonna be better, only worse. And sometimes, when I look at things that I did 2 years ago, it's like, oh, I could do that 2 years ago. I can't do that anymore, Or I can't do it that much anymore, that often anymore. But despite of all this, I'm still having a great life. I have a fantastic husband. I have friends. Most of them are online because I'm not very good at being social, and I'm tired afterwards. So I love having online friends, and I also have real friends that I see and meet, and yeah. And I've met wonderful people in the knitting community that I've been a part of for 10 years, and now for a year I've been diamond painting, and I've met beautiful, lovely people in that community as well. So, even though that I can't work and I can't be out in the world, I still feel that I have these communities that I'm a part of, and where I bring sense to the world, and yeah. So now I'm gonna try this, see if anybody else than me will watch these videos and follow my life, and I'm gonna tell you the good and the bad and everything in between. I will try just to show you bad days as well, so you can see that it isn't all smiles and, oh, this isn't funny at all, because it isn't funny. Most of the time I try to smile and be a happy, jolly person, because, as I said before, people don't like crybabies, and I don't like crybabies either. I have this philosophy that even though my life is horrible, I still have good times. And if I just sit down in a corner and I cry all the time, who's gonna spend time with me? People don't like when you just cry all the time. People don't like it. Yeah. So I think I'm gonna stop, because I've been yabbering for nearly an hour by now. But I have a question for you all, and I hope that you can help me out, because it's silly. But would you say that I have a condition, an illness, or a handicap? because I never know. Is it a condition, an illness, or a handicap? Because basically it can be all three of them. So yeah, think about it and write down in comments to me about what you think. And please give me a like if you want to. If you're here, please like the video. And if you want to follow along, you can hit the subscription button. And there's a little bell down there as well if you want to be notified when I put up something new. So, yeah. Bye. Thanks for this time. Until next time. Bye.